Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Blowout right here on Atlantic Television Network. I am Nia Barry Fakai. I hope you had a great night. And we have great conversations lined up today. And of course, you know, Lagos and Abuja is going to join us. In the studio with me this morning, my guest for the day, brilliant legal mind, and of course, a veteran in communications. He is Dr. Das Dapa. Good morning, Dr. Das.
Good morning, Nia. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, all right. So we're set to walk through some stories today. I believe Shola is set to join from Abuja. Good morning, Shola.
Good morning, Nia.
How are you doing this morning, Shola? And how is Abuja?
Great, Abuja is great. Only that we are trying to see how the government can rise up to the occasion and see how we can forestall the banditry attack on the acclaimed safest route to travel out of Abuja, which is the train system that has now become a target of the terrorists in recent time. And as of yesterday, the National Assembly leadership is trying to meet up with the leadership of all the security outfits in the country, but unfortunately, they sent their representative, in which the deputy speaker, Honorable was dismissed them that no, they have to come with the real principals. So the meeting has been rescheduled for today by 3 p.m. I hope they will come up with strategies, come up with plans to see how they can nip this in the bud once and for all and make that route safe, and Nigeria can regain the confidence of the train system in this country.
Okay, Shola, we're going to get into all these conversations because it's also part of what we're lined up to talk about today. But in Abuja now, a few people, of course, have concerns, and these conversations are about what should have been done. There are conversations about what should have been done to prevent this, and it seems like we are coming to the point of a blame game. What do you think about that?
That is exactly the narrative Nigerians are running away from, because over time Nigerians have been complaining. Before now, a lot of series of attacks have been happening. Even the train stations across the country have been attacked at one point or the other, and people have been talking. And to some people, they will always look as if most in that their powers, they will say they are all whalers. The whalers will continue to talk. They continue to bring to reality what is happening within their environment. You cannot run away from the fact that some people will call it blame game, but that is the reality. On ground, Nigerians must react to ugly situations. It is left for the government to rise up to the occasion and see how they can keep the citizen safe, and they can reduce the people's complaint. Nigerians are actually yearning for a better security, a well-conducive environment where people can sleep with their too high clothes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shola, for that input. So we'll walk through the stories that we have for today. Number one, IPOB protest move to name second Niger Bridge after Buhari. Okope backs Peter Obi, and Wike. He has a claim he has laid out on the presidency. That's Governor Wike. That's going to be our third story. And Nigeria's agro investment and why the CBN is investing so much in agriculture. We'll talk about that too. And then we also have the conversation about the Abuja train attack. The Buhari and the National Assembly and the governors demand tough actions, and of course survivals. We'll also have conversations about the survivals, but there is also the story about the headsmen kidnapping a journalist somewhere in Ugelu. So we'll walk through these conversations, but I want to just start off with the story about the Abuja Kaduna terrorist attack, and this particular story is one that is still unwinding, and it's while some people think it's not something you can overflog. The reason is because there are a lot of concerns here and there. It's also, I saw a headline last night that I was still seeking to verify about another terrorist attack. So it looks like some deliberate move to attack the sovereignty of Nigeria. It looks like some deliberate move to show that these people can act and nothing can happen with them. So it has been confirmed by the federal and the state governments that at least 8 out of 398 passengers who boarded the ill-fated Kaduna-bound train from Abuja around 6 p.m. on Monday are dead, while 28 are currently hospitalized and several others still unaccounted for. And so the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Securities and Home Affairs has confirmed these numbers and has also disclosed that from the manifest received from the Nigerian Rail Corporation that 398 passengers bought ticket, but 362 were validated. So this the commissioner stated, and investigations are still ongoing as it is, and we're hoping that we can get a more comprehensive report on this. But there are many other angles that are coming in because, of course, citizens who were, people who were in the train that survived are recounting from different angles of the experience that they had. People who were also who received messages from the train are also recounting. And there's one thing that really got my attention, and I've been thinking about it for Nigerians. The fact that some people, when these kind of messages were put out on social media, there's a stretch of messages of people either making fun of the person or saying there's a doctor that passed, and she put up a tweet, and you would read if you read this stretch of messages that followed, you would see all sorts of interesting and weird angles to this. But this is my concern about all that. The Arab Spring happened, Algeria. The Arab Spring happened, and there was a revolution that started from there because social media was used. People who had to put out content or put out a message out there explaining how the people were being treated. They did that on Twitter. Even as at the time when the government had shut out communications, they found a way to get on Twitter and do these tweets. So if Twitter could create the Arab Spring, how come Nigerians could not also know how to leverage on this? And it's not only Twitter. This attack happened for over an hour plus. So think about it, security and all that. But I'll come to Dr. Das Dapa on this story because it's a recurrent story. There are new angles to it. What's your general take on this story, sir?
Good morning there once again, viewers. I must confess that I bleed, my heart bleeds for the families of those that we have lost, precisely the 8 that have been accounted for. For all those who have not been accounted for, I think that the security agencies must brace up. This is the time to show capacity. But it's really saddening that at this particular point in time that this will happen to Nigeria. The railway system, just like Shola mentioned, almost appeared as the safest way out of Abuja in recent times. And then when that becomes, the railway lines becomes target for terrorists and kidnappers, it's really not a good story at all. It also shows that there's need for the Nigerian Railway Corporation to be proactive. I recall reading something which I have not verified, where the Minister of Transportation, His Excellency Rotimi Amechi, visiting Kaduna and the site, appealed to Nigerians to, did he say, contribute funding to take care of the affected. If that story is true, it just didn't show the level of seriousness. The Ministry of Transportation, the federal government, should immediately take the bill of those that are hospitalized and then charge the security agencies, relevant agencies, to search for those that have been abducted, and then find out the those who carried out this act. It's rather saddening that we keep hearing this, becoming a recurrent decimal, where either you hear that hoodlums have killed or kidnappers, and now the railway. It's really saddening. I do not know how to say this on a lighter note, but as a Nigerian, I feel sad, and I think that the government should immediately spring into action. On the other angle, I think the minister was also saying that it could have been avoided or reduced if the security gadgets that were in the process of being procured were procured as at when required, because he is trying to say it was a function of bureaucratic bottlenecks that delayed the procurement of the security equipment. It also calls on those in charge to also ensure that moving forward that we have security gadgets on our trains. Then we also make sure, just like has been suggested, that we have locals to man the black spots where we anticipate that these terrorists or attackers are likely, or spots that we're not too sure. We engage the locals to act as vigilante for those areas. All hands must be on deck. Security is everybody's business, but it's a sad occurrence, and I condemn it in all of its totality now.
All right, I'm going to go to Abuja. Shola, you're coming on this one now.
We don't know when the government will exactly change their system or tactics or approach to infrastructure, how to protect the infrastructure in the country. I will ask Dr. Das, in other countries like this train system, before at the beginning, we hope it will have been that the security outfit of the country will have taken over the security of the train system from onset. Or what do you think will have been the situation?
Yes, Shola, I share that view because in civilized climes, you realize that the train routes are sometimes monitored by gadgets. Look, technology has gone so much so that inside the train we can have monitors. Along the route we can have monitors. We can even monitor from the sky or up there. It just shows that we are just not prepared to do what is needful, i.e. you realize that prior to this time the railway system was in a state of comatose. It was almost dead, and then it was resurrected by the good luck administration, and then this is a follow-up by this administration. Over the years there should have been security, should have been part of the plan, i.e. there should have been engulfed in the process of making sure that the train works. Then if the train system is working, then the security system alongside that train route should work normally. The trains we should be able to monitor, have gadgets that monitor how well the train is doing, monitor the train lines, and then make sure that the passengers who get into the train is safe. Safe in the sense that even inside the train we can still have monitors. It's not rocket science, and I think it can be done and should be done. This is a clear call for the Nigeria Railway Corporation and all those in authority to please make sure that our railway lines become safe. As we're getting into the 2023 era and the movement right, left, and center, it's expedient that safety becomes our major concern. But that's not what our leaders are doing, and I don't find it funny. When we hear that a lot of people have died, we hear that bandits have attacked, now we hear that the railway lines are no longer safe again. I think that the Mr. President should give marching orders. I also like and hear that the National Assembly is also making very serious moves or orders to properly investigate what the exact scenario is like, and then what can be put in place to mitigate future.
Hear from the reliable source that before this system kick-started properly, a huge sum of amount of money was paid to the consultants. And in the consultants' documents, there are areas where the issue of security was raised and it was discussed, was highly discussed extensively. Is it that Nigerian system is full of nonchalant attitude towards life and properties?
Nonchalant is a mild word, Shola. If security was part of the arrangement and then the consultants were part of that arrangement, the consultants collected some monies or were also part of that arrangement with the government to ensure that the train system works, and then they didn't play their part in ensuring that the security aspect further tells you what the system is. It's in Nigeria, you put something in place, but you do not put the checks and balance to ensure that it works. The implementation has always been our problem. It shows the level of, like a lackadaisical attitude that we attach to security, and then to life, and especially property, life especially, and property, and then the safety of the average Nigerian. When it affects the average Nigerian, it doesn't bother, it doesn't matter. But when it has to do with someone that is of the upper class, that's when they tend to wake up and all that. But that's really a sad tale that they did not play their part, or the consultants were part of the problem security-wise, or did not emphasize the implementation of what was in the document. It's a reflection of the level of social decay and level of irresponsible leadership in respect of I use that word carefully, in respect of implementing elements and factors that will ensure that the average Nigerian is safe. The principal function of any government is to protect life and property. And so if we cannot do that, then what is the essence of government in the first place? I condemn that act. And then those that are responsible, those that did not ensure that the security system works within our railway lines and within the trains, I think a serious investigative panel should be set up. Let's get to the bottom. Let this be a test case. We can get there if we want to.
A lot of Nigerians are always be hanging on the fact that Nigerians should not be reacting. In most cases, we must always be proactive. But it has happened. This has really dealt with the image of the train system in this country. As a communicator, what do you think the government can do to bring back the confidence of Nigerians in this system?
The erosion of confidence is not only reflected as a function of the poor railway system and insecurity involved along that line. Our image has been bastardized as a function of the level and style of leadership that we do have. Where government in charge of the people, or where politicians will go to the general public and make promises, to the average Nigerian, and then do not fulfill these promises when they get into office. And so it's a negative, it has a negative impact on our image. And then that image is everything sometimes, the way they say. What can the government do? The government has to put the right things in place. The government has to ensure that our lives and security and properties of Nigerians are secure. That way, it can maybe improve the image, but they need to do what is needful. And that is to ensure that, first of all, that they get to the root cause, to find out if there's a way they can even get to those perpetrators of this act and get them to book them to justice. Then a lot of confidence will come in and will be as a deterrent to would be actors in that same line. But it's a negative dent on our image. It shows that we're not properly organized as a country. When the world is talking about cable trains, electric trains, we're still doing what we're doing here. And then you can imagine that when the train system is no longer safe any longer. I recall that in way back, like 20, 30 years ago, the railway system used to be the means of transportation of our raw materials, the granules, the beans and all that. Used to, if you go to a railway station, you see foodstuff moving from one point to the other. It was the cheapest way and somehow safe in such a way, not fast but safe. But now it's becoming one of the worst routes to even think of traveling. Our government needs to wake up. We Nigerians must learn to also condemn this in all of its totality. Why I'm not calling for a negative reaction by Nigerians angrily, but I also say that they must condemn this and condemn it in all of its totality, if for nothing, just to put the government on its toes to know that they are responsible to us. The power actually belongs to the people.
Some quarters are arguing that in the face of modern day technologies, we should be talking of this kind of arranged system. Do you agree with them?
I agree with them. I agree with them. in this 21st century, knowledge and technology and science has gone beyond this. Going back to the coal era and using coal and all that. Trains are now powered by solar. They're powered by energy, electricity here and there. And so if we cannot operate what it's backward, so to say, for the developed economies, we cannot. Nigeria, the largest black nation at Nigeria, with sufficient intellectual capital, Nigeria with that amount of power in the sense of raw material, power in the sense of people who can deliver. And if this is our best, and even our best is not good enough and not even secure, then we just need to brace up. All this also, Shola, I must say that, all this, thank God, all this are panning out now. This is the time, we're approaching that time for change. This is when Nigerians can see all that is wrong, all that is negative, and not allow themselves to actually be led astray again. We must begin to know that we want a new Nigeria, in Nigeria where things like this work, where the rail system is working, where there's water, where there's electricity, and then if we look at our peculiar scenario or situation, Shola, you realize that power is a major problem here. So we cannot even begin to think about cable trains or trains being powered by electricity. That means halfway into the forest, you find that the what you call power is out, and then the train gets stuck. You can imagine what will happen. Although dedicated power sources can be ascribed or put in place for this kind of special kind of movement, the train movement, but we're way back technologically in respect of rail movement, and then this is also happening. It's just not a good story for the outside world to look at Nigeria from any positive direction, especially in respect of what has happened. The government needs to brace up, and Nigerians needs to take this as an example and then work towards ensuring that we have leadership in place. Between now and 2023 is very short. So this is the window, this is the time that we do have. All the things that we have earmarked and have seen that are not working, then we must realize and get determined that we must stop those things. And how do we stop those things? We must get credible leaders, people, visionary leaders who have the interest of the nation at heart. Those kind of people will think ahead of the time. We are always reactive, just like Shola said. We need to be proactive this time, and I call on Nigerians to be proactive and then to wake up and then in local palace of the say, shine your eye.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Deb. That's that right.
Thank you, Shola. Thank you so much, Shola. Coming back now, I know that Agaji is set to join us from Lagos. Good morning, Agaji.
Good morning, Niabari. It's an interesting topic we're talking about this morning, and I'd like to just immediately go over to Dr. Dapa. Some people feel that because there's lack of continuity, or rather that every administration wants to take the credit for everything that they do, even if it's coming from another administration, that's why they hasten to do a lot of things, and then the launching of these railway system, as it were, was premature because everything should have been put in place before the operations started. And the claim that there was a proposal for it and it was not honored before this time is a lame excuse. But all these things happening, you cannot travel safely on the road, you cannot travel safely by train, and even airports have been attacked in recent days and all that. That means there's no safe means of transportation anywhere in Nigeria. Do you think, like some people have said, Doctor, that a state of emergency should be declared on security in Nigeria? And if you do agree, how do you think that can help?
Well, a state of emergency, good morning anyway, good to see you again. A state of emergency been declared in respect of our security will not be a bad thing because once the system becomes insecure, every other thing collapses, because nearly everything relies or functions on security. Trust me, if you're sure that if you get out of your house, you'll be attacked or you're not getting your destination, then you won't go out for business. So it's important that security is taken in, looked at its own, given a top place priority. And if it say a state of emergency would do that, and if it will solve that problem, why not? And if you ask me, state of emergency, it's the government that can declare that. Because if we can't move just like you have explained, we can't move by road. It's dangerous to move, and because you know some blind alleys and corners and all that, you might be attacked. You're not even sure. And then airports have been attacked, and now the railway system. So are they trying to crumble the transportation system in the country? Are they saying that we cannot move any longer? And then let's look at the capacity. What capacity does the hoodlums, the terrorists you call them, the kidnappers, what capacity do they have that they can surmount that amount of pressure compared to what the Nigerian state has? If we look at the strength of our military, the paramilitary, and then look at all government agencies, those that are involved in security, we have sufficient manpower, we have sufficient equipment. The challenge is how come we can't move that equipment, that level of manpower to hit and then take away these miscreants out of the system, that these miscreants will come up and hold a nation like Nigeria spellbound and hold us captives. No, that should not be accepted. If a state of emergency can do that, yes. And then the National Assembly also needs to call the service chiefs, and then if they need to prep them up and tell them, look, with Nigerians, this is what they want, and then we give you a charge to achieve this. Or alternatively, put a law in place or charge the executive and then ask the executive to call those chiefs, service chiefs, and those in charge of security to ensure that our roads, our railways, and our airports are really, really safe. The government can declare a state of emergency, but with a well-planned arrangement. It is not in the declaration of the state of emergency. The problem in Nigeria has always been the implementation. And how come? And then now, I like to put things in context. Look at where we are now. Trust me, just give it another 4 weeks, max 8 weeks, this story will die down. Because the thought of the average Nigerian now, or the thought of the political class, is how to perpetuate itself in power come 2023. Now there have been concerned, there have been movements and there are plans and all that. So anything you're saying that affects the generality of people, including their lives, to the average politician, it just matters a little. He doesn't even know or care that, or knowing the fact that the life, that man whose life you don't care about is the man that's going to vote you. But for them, it's how to get into power and to continue in that state of kleptocracy. They steal what you don't need. That's part of it. Sometimes I wonder if the purpose of our democracy is to give birth to kleptocratic leaders, those who will come and steal from the system. Otherwise, why would you have like $5 billion and not even in the economy stashed away in escrow account? That's the system we're living in, my brother. That's the kind of country we live in, and it's very saddening. And so, security, yes. And if a state of emergency will end all this and then put our railways, our roads, and airports safe again, why not if not?
What if by the grace of God we have a leader that will have the political will to revamp the security architecture in Nigeria comes in 2023? Where do you think that kind of a leader should start from to revamp this security architecture? Will it be manpower? Will it be in the securing of arms? Will it be in legislation or general funding of the security architecture? Where do you think he can start from?
I think that it has to be a potpourri, a combo, if you like, a combo of intellectual reorientation of the mindset of our military personnel, and then the equipment, state-of-the-art equipment. And then when you talk about funding, it takes my mind back. Do you recall how many billion we have had in the past? Let me not stretch only. Let me do 2015 to today. And then before 2015, backward, look at the enormous amount of money that have been put in, voted for, expended on arms and security, and we still have all this. What does it tell you? So it tells you that even if you put $1 trillion down there and the implementation process is not carefully planned and implemented to the dot and to the letter, with a visionary leader, that leader must be able to pass that vision on to those that are likely to implement the vision. This time, and the service chiefs, and then the service chiefs must be able to inspire the followership so much so that the average soldier or the average military man recognizes that this is what our leader wants, this is what the nation wants, and work towards that. Because a lot of funding have been put into security and we still have this challenge. So if you ask me, if we have a visionary leader come 2023, there has to be a pre-plan. It has the pre-plan, the plan itself, and then the evaluation. a three-stage approach. So it will come out with a solution, and then the monitoring from the planning stage to the implementation stage, and then the evaluation to get feedback to see if the desired results have been achieved. Otherwise, it will be like throwing funds and money again into the drain without the results that we do expect. The results that we expect is that if a new leader comes as visionary and put in place enough funding and machinery and reorientate the minds of the manpower and retrain them, then we should be able to have security down here. But it's not rocket science. It can be done, but it also needs commitment. That's my take on it, sir.
Kenya, very back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Agaji, for that. Well, going on to the next story. This is a very interesting story. Some people call it laughable, but the people in the story also call what happened in the story laughable. So the IPOB, that's the indigenous people of Biafra, are protesting the move to name the second river Niger Bridge after the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired. Came to power and completely sidelined its people. End of quote. So the people claim that under Buhari's watch, Southeast youths have been slaughtered by security agents with reckless abandon. And IPOB also says the bridge should rather be called Achoise Bridge or any other accomplished Igbo patriot, adding that no Igbo man has been named after anything big or a big project in the north. So the group says, under the watch of the presidency, terrorists masquerading as Fulani herdsmen have invaded our communities, killing innocent men, women, after destroying our farms with their cows. So they've also gone on, as the group has gone on to debunk the allegation by the Minister of Works, that's Babatunde Fashola, that they disturbed the construction of the Niger Bridge. So in their response, they went on to say, this is another lie from the pit of hell, and we want to challenge Fashola to substantiate his claims. Did IPOB in any way physically interfere with the project? And so this is where we are, and I really want to get context on this, and I know a lot of Nigerians and people who are watching want to know. Before we get into how you feel about this general story, I'll ask you, do a people have a right to reject a name or whatever, a public institution, a public structure, whatever it is? Is there any room for the people to say, no, we don't want the government to name this? And this naming, do you have any idea how it happens? Dr. Das.
Thank you, Nia. Whether or not the people have a right, it's something I cannot particularly pinpoint. But I do know that people can say this is what we want and this is what we do not want. In the sense that if that name, the naming, will affect them negatively or rub off negatively on them, then they can say that they do not want that particular name to them. These people know. No, these people, we can't give them power. We have had that before. We don't know how true that is. And then all of a sudden, of all people in the world, of all names in the world, you know, for somebody who, the IPOB, their leader has already been incarcerated. The matter is in court, and we will not go there. Now the people feel that, you know, they have been sidelined in the management process since of this country, since the Civil War. And we all know they are asking to the second Niger Bridge. Now you want to name it after the one they think that is prioritizing the evil against them. I think they have a right to resist that. Every social epoch looks for its great men. Where you cannot find them, it invents them. So it's difficult to you finding the great man for the people. The people will find their own great men. And I think that is a disservice to the people. I thank God you said it's laughable. I do not want to laugh about it, but is it a joke? What will the federal government achieve by naming? What's the plus? Let's look at the plus factor. What will the federal government achieve by naming that place, the Muhammadu Buhari Bridge as against second Niger? Is it nation building? Is it that the name will bond the Southerners or Southeasterners to Nigeria? You know, it was, for me, the relevance is zero relevance. And so the people have that right. Because first, they feel aggrieved by the fact of what we are finding as partners in this contraption called Nigeria. And then we're in this kind of state, and then it's like, you know, poking your eyes into your hands into their nose or their eyes. And for them to resist that, I think it was just ordinary. It was natural for them to have resisted it. And if I were in their shoes, trust me, I'll do the same. You don't flog me and expect me not to cry. That's just the truth.
Okay, so I'll go over to Shola on this one now. Shola, over to you on this conversation.
Positive influence, i.e., that person has been able to positively develop or affect the Nigerian people, either as a function of his contribution in politics, or his contribution in the welfare of the people, or his contribution to intellectual capital of the nation, or his contribution to even the educational system, or generally a contribution that's a plus factor to, i.e., the Nigerian people. You can name such national assets against such names, or towards such names. It will act as motivators. It will inspire young people to, oh, I want to be like Nelson Mandela. Oh, I want to be like this. Because you realize that because this man gave his best to society, this infrastructure or this national asset is named after him. But not when such people have not actually delivered the plus to the Nigerian people, and then you want to name projects after them. When they look at those from the Southeast, I like to be very real about this. The Southeast,
yes, we cannot actually say if the government is really affecting the life of the people in Southeast positively or negatively. What I'm actually looking at, what we are supposed to look at, is that at what point of that project, is it at the beginning of a project? I'm talking about projects generally. Is it at the beginning of the project, or in the course of doing the project, or after the completion, that a name can be given to that project? Or what do you think should be the right thing to do?
Shola, at what point a name is given to a project, for me, it will be irrelevant. Either it's at the beginning or in between or at the end. The important thing there is that that name has a positive influence, and that project, the name being tied to the project, will also inspire leadership, will also inspire followership, will also be a plus for everybody, a win-win scenario. So whether it is named before the project is started, whether it's named in between the project when the project is ongoing, or at the end of the project, that name must be a positive name. Now, I wasn't even talking about, you know, whether the federal government have been good to those from the Southeast. I'm looking at the name that was mentioned, not the government, the name. And so if you look at it, just like they mentioned, there are other leading Igbo industrious Igbo people, right, who have contributed so well from 1914 to 90, okay, or if you like, from 1960 to the well-being of the Southeasterners or to Nigeria in general. And so if you do that, right, we also know, in all fairness, that that section of the country looks at Buhari as a tribalist, as a sectionist, right? I don't share that view, but that's how they look at it. And so if they look at a sectionist, someone who's from a section that wants to destroy the people, if you like, so to say, to name a bridge that is domiciled within their geographical location after that name that they look at as being the aggressor, everybody will react, and that's what I think they're doing.
That project, Dr. Dad, that project is seen as national project.
Agreed.
And it is obvious that project, bringing a national name on it, will foster our unity and integration as one of the problems we have in this country. Do you think they will have tried to sample opinions of the people that are closer to this project?
Yes, they would have sampled opinion of those that are closer to the projects, but you know their name is. Are you saying that the suggested name is the best name under the circumstances? Let's not generalize. It's a national project. It's owned by the nation. The second Niger bridge is a national asset owned by Nigerians, owned by the country, yes. But in the context of where we are now, is Muhammadu Buhari, retired general, the best name for that bridge at this time, when the people of the Southeast feel marginalized, when they are calling for a way out, when their leader is being incarcerated by the same Muhammadu Buhari, not Muhammadu Buhari per se, by the system led by Muhammadu Buhari. And so there could have been other names. I'm not. There could have been other names. Are you saying that Mahamudu is the best name? That's what I'm looking at. Under the context in which we have to be sensitive to the people, we have to be proactive. We have to look at, it must not be our own section, our own mind again. What are we trying to achieve? Is it that we are trying to bond or unite the country, or we are trying to immortalize the name of Muhammadu Buhari? What are we trying to achieve? Yes.
Dr. Das, IPOB is just a group in the southeast, and there are a lot of other groups in southeast. You cannot really say how many of the groups, how many of them in the southeast are not in good terms with the Mr. President as his name concerned.
Yes, I agree that IPOP is just one of the groups. We have the others, Ohanese and all the other, but you're like, who, if you have to look at all the other groups from the southeast, right? It's not that IPOP says, no, it's not, we don't just want this one. They all, amongst all, you say that IPOP is one of the most radical, if you like. You also realize that they own what they call the Radio Biafra. That station, if you listen to it, you'll be amazed at some of the things you hear, where we're called Zoo Nation, where we're called zombies and all that. You find out that they are like, if you want to put it, you can describe them as extremists. So in such a scenario, you have to be careful as to when you deal with such groups that can go the extra mile. I'm not saying they're dangerous, but I'm only saying that given the scenario that we find ourselves now, the IPOB, amongst other groups in the southeast, it's one group that you must treat with kid gloves and be very careful with the way they react. Remember that they gave an order of sit at home, and it was implemented. Let it be that another group tries that, and you see that maybe there will be pockets of resistance either right, left, and center. I just hear that the new governor there, Soludo, is trying to, and he did say that he will ensure that the sit at home is being. So you can see the strength, you can feel that, once there's a command by the IPOB, the Southeast will either obey or a majority of them will do. So they have a sufficient influence over there. And so, Shola, I think that we have to be careful with them. I also personally do not share that view that name is the best name to name the Niger bridge at this moment. That's my personal view, and I think I have a right to that opinion. That is it.
Invariably, you are accusing Babatunde Raji Fashola for committing an aggression. Is that not?
No, I am not. He has every right as minister to act within the purview of his office, and I think that's what he did. I have just expressed an opinion that is completely mine, and I think that if the minister was also very, very emotional about it, he should have taken the emotions of the IPOB and those in the East in trying to suggest names. I don't know if you're the one or my other brother who suggested that there would have been consultations to find out if Muhammadu Buhari is the best name for that second Niger bridge. I think that there are other names, people who are bonded and made sure that this Nigeria exists. The dream, who have held the dreams of our founding fathers. Even our national anthem does say that the labors of our heroes past shall never be in vain. What we are trying to achieve there, what is it? To immortalize the name of Muhammadu Buhari. There are other projects that could have been done and named after him. But that project, which is a national asset, and I agree, is very dear to the people of the East, not only the Southeast. And so naming it after one who they consider an aggressor to them, which they consider an aggressor to them under the circumstances in which we find ourselves, it would be rather unfair to, it will be like, as I said before, just poking your hands into their nose. And I'm not saying that slightly, lightly. I share their pain.
Will the government will do every possible thing to calm nerves as far as this is concerned? Thank you, Dr. Das.
Thank you, Shola.
All right, thank you so much, Shola. Now over to you, Akaji, on this conversation.
Yes, I can see, or maybe where the IPOP people or even the Indigo are coming from, because IPOP, no matter how it is representative of the Igbo. They are the militant group of the Igbo, and there are other groups that may be milder than that. But because if you see, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport is in the north, it's in Abuja, and they cannot say no, nothing has been named after an Igbo person in the north and all that. So you just understand with them that they have been aggrieved, and there are so many things that have been clouded. They are not seeing rightly now because of the anger that they are feeling. But Dr. Das, what does this talk, does this say about the successive administrations in Nigeria in terms of being selfish, because everybody wants to take the credit? For instance, it's been said by the PDP, that the bridge, the second Niger bridge, was almost all of the money, the funding for the second Niger bridge was paid by the Jonathan administration, and the APC has not really refuted that. We are yet to confirm, but they have not really come out to say that is a lie. And then now everybody's in a hurry to finish it and name it after Muhammad Buhari. What does this speak about the attitude of successive governments in laying claims to what they call their own legacy projects and all that? Is it a good trend, or how can we change it?
Agaji, you just realized that, that trend you mentioned, the trend isn't good. Government is a continuum. If a particular project is being started by one government, and in the course of their tenure or being in power, it could not have been completed, right? The next government logically should follow and conclude that project and even give credit to those who started. But in Nigeria, everybody is looking at his own. Everybody is getting into power and is getting there to engrave his name. Just like I mentioned, what is the beauty, apart from immortalizing the name of Muhammadu Buhari in respect of that Niger bridge? Tell me, will that name, are there no better names or other names that could unite? A name that, just like once you mention it, right, it unites and bonds the nation, puts us together. But every government in power is looking at how it will remind itself of its own. And even when it is out of power, right, they should be remembered within. And so even if a government in Nigeria, and that's the experience we have always had, and that's why we're saying that that system or that approach is wrong. The government should be a continuum. From one stage, the other man builds to a particular point, he leaves the stage, you come in, you build up, you continue to build, and then there's no end. It's just an elastic limit. Yeah, so there's no elastic limit. You must start from somewhere. No, but not when a government has started and then does a project up to 70% or even 50%, if you like, and the government is out of power, and sometimes you abandon it. And then you just leave it, and then you don't even say, and you start another similar one. That would be a waste of resources. That would be a waste of manpower. That means that the time, resources, and energy that was expended by the last government is all a waste. And then except where that government has another government that is in place, that's what they like to perpetrate themselves. As they are leaving, they find another one that will listen and obey them. So they become the godfather even out of the government house, if you like, and then rule from that particular point. It is a wrong approach to governance, right? If the project is good, then we must learn. I see countries out here where they have 25 or 30 years development plan. Now, if we do have a development plan like that in that state in Nigeria, it means that when the man comes in and is there for 8 years, 4 years, yes, he starts a project. If God willing, and the people say, okay, go ahead, he has on that. For 8 years, he's on one project. As soon as he's out of power, now you realize that a new government comes in and the new government starts again. It means that 8 years is wasted. And so that 25 years development plan will never be achieved. But if you do 8 years and then that government comes in and does on that 4 an improvement on the order, in 25 years we would have achieved that pre-plan. Nations plan ahead of time. They plan developmental strides and all that, and then implement those plans. We plan. Sometimes we don't even implement. Sometimes we don't even plan. Sometimes we plan to destroy. That as soon as I get into power, all that he's doing, I will just put it aside and start my own all afresh, which is a wrong approach to governance. We do not want to look at governance as a continuum. We do not want to say that everybody that comes into governance is coming to add. It's coming with a plus mentality. It's coming to develop on what is already existing, as against scattering it and beginning from scratch again. That means that we will go around that circle again, that vicious circle I used to say. If you do that and then you're out of power and the man comes and starts again, the vicious circle goes this does. You think you're going up, but if you're not doing it right, you will come back and start again. It's a vicious circle and it is wrong.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't have an opinion, but I just wish that this bridge can just simply be named after Odumegwu Ojukwu. I see a lot of pride being restored in the Igbo people if this is done, and the knowledge that they are being recognized from the central, that is the entire Nigeria recognizes them and their heroes that they have in the Southeast. But again, if they have set their mind to name it after Buhari, like you said, I don't know how that translates into the development of a country and the unification of a people. But then, well, let's hope for the best. Back to you, Niabari. I know we are itching to go on a break.
All right, thank you so much, Agaji. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, of course, we'll talk about this other story about PDP and, of course, zoning formulas and the likes. Some people are stepping up, some people are dropping to back some other people, and you want to find out more about that story after the break.
On the facts, breaking news and in-depth interviews on a wide range of topics.
Atlantic Television Network, home for in-depth reportage. Facts, professionalism, all the news you need. Atlantic Television Network. Atlantic Television Network.
Atlantic Television Network, anchoring facts.
The making of Wish 99. The renowned American coach, speaker, and author of the bestseller Awakening the
Welcome back to Atlantic Blowout right here on Atlantic Television Network. Now, on this story, a lot of people, I saw a few posts on, and a lot of people have said, wow, this profile looks good. It says it's tested and trusted. I don't want to get into that, but he is a player in the PDP, and it looks like other people are beginning to, these clusters are beginning to happen. Now, there has been the concern about the zoning of the PDP presidency to the south, and the southeast has been eager. They've been of Nigeria. So Doyin Okupe, a former presidential aide and a presidential hopeful, has withdrawn from the 2023 race to support the ambition of ex-governor of Anambra State, that's Peter Obi, and he has said this, saying in a press conference rather, saying that the leader of a social political group, Afereniere, that's Chief Ayo Adebanjo, had appealed to him to withdraw from the race. So he is also going out of his way to enjoin all the People's Democratic Party experience from the south, including Dele Momodu, Pius Ayim, Nyesom Wike, to team up with Obi, who is the southeast geopolitical, who is from rather the southeast geopolitical zone. So he has gone on to accuse the PDP leadership for driving presidential aspirants to fight or comply, saying those at the helm of affairs of the party are trying to hoodwink those of us aspirants from the south to commit ourselves to obtain the requisite form before coming up with the original position that every zone can contest in the presidency. And so he says this position is politically fraudulent, unjust, and unequitable. He goes on to say he's aligning himself with the wish of the elders in the interest of equity and justice, and he wants to publicly admit that the 2023 political race must be conceded to the southeast. That's the Igbos. So he has done a public proclamation of his withdrawal from the race. Now, there are angles to this. Some people say, some people just get into the race to get clout and traction. These things are going to be happening. You would, if